waxaan hadda ku soo dhaweynayaa Hibaaq Cabdullaahi Ducaale waxay ka hadlaysaa the negative impact of petroleum, in other words the oil curse. She has a bachelor's of science in public health and a bachelor's of art in political science and psychology. So the
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Before I bilaabin hadalkayga, waxaan marka hore rabaa inaan halkan u mahadnaqo naftood hurayaasha jabhadda wadaniga xoreynta Soomaalida Ogaadeeniya. Halkan waxaan kaga soo dirayaa salaan qiimo iyo qeeyo leh taas oo aynu ku salaamayo salaanta islaamka. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Hadda walaalayaal daawanisiin maanta waxaan rabaa inaan inii mahadnaqo inaad dhulkiina hooyo u soo dagaalamteen ana naftiina u horteen and in maanta farxadda maanta celebrate garanayno inay jiri lahayn hadday dhiigiina iyo dheecaankiina u daadan lahayn dhulkiina hooyo. Marka aad iyo aad baa u mahadsantihiin intii dhimatay ilaahay waxaa uu baryayaa inay janno firdowsa uu ka waraabiyo inta noolna inuu ilaahay gaarsiiyo ogaadeeniya oo xorowday oo intay noqoto a stronghold in not only qaaradda Africa but adduunka dhan la tartamaysa ilaahay ayna tuso. Marka the rest of my speech waa inaan English ku dhahaa. Marka inta fahmisa I hope waxaynu ku soo kordhiyo inta fahmaynina I hope inuu qof inii translate garayo. Before I delve into my speech, I would like to take some time to express my gratitude to the sponsors and organizers of this great event, and to all of you in the audience for your attention, commitment, and interest in making the Ogaden region great again. Information is power, and like many speakers here today, my objective is to give you the power to change the region, to influence policies, and to protect its future. Those of us who live in security have a profound responsibility to those who lack the fundamental human rights that we take for granted every single day. For those of you who don't know, the Ogaden region is in a position of transition as there are serious talks in place regarding the extraction of petroleum oil. With this being the current political conversation, I think the most important question we should be asking ourselves is, how is the extraction of petroleum oil going to benefit the people of the Ogaden region? When there have been numerous examples of African nations where the discovery of natural resources have been followed by political instability and economic turmoil. The exploitation, extraction, and export of natural resources, petroleum in particular, has garnered immense and astronomical interest in the international community. Countless political scientists and economists have dedicated extensive research and debates on the perverse effects natural resources have on economic efficiency, political dysfunction, and environmental degradation. Since 1980, the developing world has become wealthier, more democratic, and more peaceful. Yet this is only true for countries without oil. The oil states scattered across the Middle East, Africa, Latin America, and Asia are neither wealthier nor more democratic than they were 3 decades ago. Some are in fact worse off. Many oil producers like Algeria, Angola, Colombia, Nigeria, Sudan, and Iraq have been scarred by decades of civil war. Today, these oil states are 50% more likely to be ruled by autocrats and more than twice as likely to have civil war compared to non-oil producing states. They're also less transparent and more financially volatile. Today, One must then ask, what makes the resource-rich countries the poorest? It's a paradoxical. These specific challenges and concerns that accompany oil extraction are overwhelmingly a problem for poor and underdeveloped countries, not rich and industrialized ones. Unfortunately, this creates what is called the resource curse, or the paradox of plenty, where those countries with the most urgent need are also the least likely to benefit from their own geological endowment. Theoretically, the resource curse should not occur. Having an abundance of natural resources should help countries, not hurt them. And ideally, the setup would be that a country would develop enough revenue to invest in things like roads, schools, infrastructure. The income per capita would increase, and that would improve virtually every dimension of a country's political well-being, including the effectiveness and transparency of its government. And this is a reality in industrialized countries like Canada, Norway, and the United States. In the 1970s, oil-producing countries had seen and enjoyed tremendous economic growth. The oil and gas sector of these countries contributed to vast revenue generation, foreign direct investment, and significant foreign exchange reserves. However, in the following decades, many of these countries were suffocated by debt, high unemployment rates, corruption, and deteriorating economies. The poorer and weaker a country is before oil discovery, the more likely it is harmed by it. A strong negative correlation exists between countries' resource dependence and economic growth. A common trait of petroleum-dependent economies is the tendency to focus primarily on exchange rates that encourage imports and suppress exports of all goods and services except oil and gas. This undermines the growth of other sectors in the nation, such as the agriculture, tourism, and manufacturing. This leaves the country exclusively dependent on revenues from its oil and gas sector, which is dictated by volatile international markets. When the economic health of a country is tied to a single sector, it is deprived of the benefits of economic growth and development and are obtained from a diversified economy. Imagine the economic impact this would have on an occupied region with no other source of revenue or investments. The Ogaden region lacks a sustainable cycle of economic activity that supports the growth of industries and markets. And until recently, the region was under an economic blockade that has had a significant negative impact on poverty, economic growth, living standards, and unemployment. If our economies become highly dependent on oil revenues, like so many poor but resource-rich countries in Africa, it will create additional challenges for us. Oil dependency will hinder our growth and development and wreak havoc on an already crippled economy. Oil dependence doesn't only impede economic growth, but also risks of violent conflict and greater inequality. Expansive studies have found a correlation between oil wealth, autocracy, corruption, and civil war. These problems plague resource-rich countries and undermine their socio-economic development. After the 2020 election, where ONLF, inshallah, becomes victorious, the grand plan will be to work on economic and social reconstruction. Policymakers will draft firm policies that will restore peace, freedom, and prosperity in the region. And unless our historical grievances against the EPRDF and the government of Ethiopia is rectified and mutually supportive conditions are put in place, I predict that the extraction and exportation of oil and natural gas from the Ogaden Basin will threaten all and any efforts to stabilize the region. Oil wealth could reinstate and intensify previous repressive policies employed by the EPRDF to perpetuate the underdevelopment of the region. It will perpetuate the underdevelopment of the region as a means of gaining full control of oil and gas reserves. Oil wealth under the influence of an imperial governance can compromise the institutions necessary for restoring and executing societal peace and development. The objective of imperialism is complete and unequivocal exploitation and domination. Under imperial rule, the Ogaden region has experienced a long and devastating history of inequality and oppression. And despite the legal concession of ethnic equality through federalism, the central government interferes and acts on behalf of the region's affairs. The EPRDF is notorious for constituting and enacting repressive policies that cripple the political, social, and economic progress in the region. And until genuine democratic transition prevails in the country, it would be unwise to provide a government that is notorious for violating both national and international law, the means to amplify their dominance over the region and perhaps the continent. The ONLF is faced with the difficult task of working with the federal government in creating extensive body of rules, agreements, institutions, and procedures that are designed to facilitate and regulate the extraction and exporting of efforts. Today, it is not my intention to argue that oil wealth is responsible for the economic, political, and social perversions that afflict economically poor but resource-rich countries. I am arguing that under certain political conditions, oil and gas exploitation could corrupt the economic, political, and social welfare of a nation. Oil and gas are the world's most important and valuable commodities and constitute a major source of income for the governments that control their production and distribution. And in the right hands, oil wealth can positively change the economic future of a country. It is a determining factor of a nation's well-being, national security, and international power. And in the wrong hands, it will fuel and intensify intercommunal conflict, economic depression, and social oppression. Whoever controls the oil and gas producing areas control the progress, collection, and allocation of revenues. Whether oil wealth will lead to unfettered socio-economic progress in the Ogaden region or an economic crisis depends on the structures erected by a strong regional government that invokes policies and laws that protect the interests and well-being of its citizens. And I'm going to end and conclude my speech with Didi Neno Gerida Tofalo Gumesigu into Dori Shidal Kena, Kuntatesa Neno, Keku Kodigo Nosuram.